Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I'm going to talk about the new paradigms in sustainable urban mobility. First, let me introduce myself. I am Professor of Transportation at the Civil Engineering School of Barcelona. Technical University of Catalonia at Barcelona, we call it Barcelona Tech. We have a research group called BIT, Barcelona Innovative Transportation. And together with my colleagues, I am trying, I'm trying, because this is bothering me, the pictures of the people right now. Very good. My colleagues that will also participate in this Sustainable Mobility Forum, Professor Miquel Estrada and Professor Francesc Robusté. Here I put some of our collaboration with institutions, some books where we participated, our research group, the World Health Organization. You will see this because it's talking about walking and cycling in the city. It's something I wrote many years ago in 1999. You'll see this cover a couple of times. Some others for the European Parliament, for the International Transport Forum, but I'm pointing out this one for United Nations Habitat. Here I was reviewer, not author, but reviewer for United Nations Habitat, deals with planning and design for sustainable urban mobility, which is very related to our forum. And I put several readings, complementary readings in this our meta campus. Okay. I was saying this was our team: Miquel Estrada, Francesc Robusté, and myself. We are professors of civil engineering. Complementary readings in the meta campus of Unite. Sustainable Mobility Forum. And let's start with new paradigms. I have like 40 something, so I have to go a little bit fast. I like these two ones, the two pictures, because they are funny and deep at the same time. Here it says, before the pandemic of coronavirus, can you believe they want to ban cars here? That's ridiculous. After the pandemics, people recuperated the space, children playing, so people are taking the space that cars were taking before. And then the same guy says, can you believe they used to be cars allowed down here? That's ridiculous. So a change of mentality, they put only 2 years of difference, we're gonna need more, but this is the trend. Or this one, unrolling the pavement, something that we have done in some streets in Barcelona, especially the ones that are inside parks. That was a fashion some decades ago. Hard squares, hard streets, even for pedestrians, because they are cleaner, easy to, and now we are recuperating, the dirty streets with with sand and more natural, more ecological. Okay, we are living a mutation in urban mobility, but this mutation is taking 3 decades so far. So it may take 2 more decades. Instead of thinking of infrastructures, we should think about services. Instead of objects, processes. Instead of something static, dynamic. Instead of events, singular events, something like we do habitually. Recurrent mobility, singular mobility, functionalism, sustainability, fuzzy city with urban sprawl, compact city, zoning, the typical mistake of some decades ago of thinking that the city is like a large house. In the house, we have a bedroom, then let's design a quarter for sleeping. We have the dining room, then let's design a quarter full of restaurants. The office, let's design a quarter full of banks and offices. Well, this creates a lot of transportation. Streets for traffic, changing into streets for people. Power to the people, that John Lennon used to say. Some innovations, but they are old already. We're going to see some of them, not all of them, because how the innovations that are related, they are cheap, and related to internet, they grow really fast. The innovations, they are older and related to infrastructure like subway, they are much more expensive, and they go slow. They grow, but very slow. BRTs, Curitiba 1976 in Brazil, in the south of Brazil, car sharing in Zurich in 87. It looks, they sound familiar and new, but they are really old concepts. Bike sharing 1998 in Rennes, low emission zones in Tokyo 2003, smart cars 1992 in Finland, complete streets, a very American concept, 1971 in the US. Okay, let's start with the most global and philosophical concepts, and then we're going to go towards more concrete items, okay? This is pretty philosophical, but it comes from the late 60s, with all these revolutions we had in the late 60s, 68, 69. Henry Lefebvre, a philosopher, the right to the city. Now Carlos Moreno is this professor of the Sorbonne in Paris, who is the counselor of the mayor of Paris, with this idea of the 15-minute city. He also wrote a book recently in 2023 about this right to the city. And then complementary to this, the basic income guarantee, so that everybody that is born in a developed country or city, they are entitled to get some money, to have some dignity, to be able to afford the basic rights. It's the first time that we are a world of cities since 2007. Before that, there were more population in countrysides than in the cities, even though the cities were the most important, like Rome, whatever. But counting the rest of the population, it's the first time that we flipped the coin in 2007, and the trend, as you can see in this figure, it's with very steep slope. Another philosophical issue, these two researchers propose something that they call transmodernity, the city of good living. Everything is positive. They say that we should build a happy, post-capitalistic, and biocentric global society. They have several dimensions. When you read this, everything sounds good. Everything. Do you want to be happy? Yes, I do. How to be happy? We don't know. And how much is this going to cost? We don't know. But nice goals to be happy, post-capitalist, and biocentric. Sustainable urban mobility plans. Most of the cities in Spain, every city larger than 50,000 inhabitants, and now has been reduced to 20,000 inhabitants, they should have one of these plans. And I think in all over Europe, it's something similar. Well, this plan is not a real plan. Usually it's a manual that includes many cases and practices, but they don't tell us, what to do in our case. They talk about modal interchanges, regulation and payment of parking, pay per use for the infrastructures, traffic restrictions, promoting walking and biking, promoting high-quality public transportation, teleworking, car sharing. But this is my definition of planning that involves a process, a procedure, so that I can analyze the situation, the current situation, and I set up some goals, and then I know, or somebody knows, how to reach these goals. So this is not a kind of real plans. They are just a list in general, a list of options and cases. Smart city or sensible city. The city that senses, that gets data, information, has sensors. Here, the master of this is Carlo Ratti, a professor of MIT. He has, in the lower right figure, he has real-time data about everything, even the containers, the trash containers, how they're being filled every hour. We have, well, this guy, Hector Sankovsky, he talks about metropolis of the future 4.0, but with a human face. So technology, yes, but with a human. Smart city, yes, but with a human face, human-centered. The 15-minute city, or quarter of our city, promoted by Carlos Moreno, this professor of city planning in La Sorbonne in Paris, and the mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo. Well, the idea is that integration and density, complete neighborhoods, not just neighborhoods to sleep or to eat or to shopping. No. A neighborhood that has health, studies, work, leisure, residence. So we talk for a large city, we need to talk about multi-center city. But this idea is not new. Probably you have heard about Marchetti's constant. It says that in 1994, but I've heard another professor we had in 1980 before, no? People are happy when they commute 1 hour or less per day of total commute, going and coming back. This is because we have 24 hours, we need to sleep, we need to do some other things, we need to work. And so the people that commute more than 1 hour per day, they feel like, a bit unhappy. They are too far away from or the job is too far away from where they live, etc. So these guys are promoting integration. On the bottom right, you will see that this is an important economist locally in Barcelona, in Catalonia. He has a political position, so and he doesn't agree with this. He says that applying this to Barcelona, it wouldn't make much sense. Slowness. This guy, Carl Honoré, he promotes slowness, like a mature perspective, a Zen philosophy. He applies this to everything, including mobility. That means fewer vehicles and less speed. This is great for safety, but I have to remember as an engineer that thanks to the speed, we have the quality of life in developed countries that we have. The cost for transportation operators are lower. Even the emissions of NOx are lower, and the cities may become larger thanks to the speed. Of course, the speed is very negative for safety. That's why we are reducing the speed. The trend is to reduce the speed from 50 kilometers per hour, except for some special, urban motorways that are usually segregated from the rest of the streets. The trend is to reduce this into 30 kilometers per hour, and some streets 20 or even 10. We have some streets in Barcelona in the center of town with this speed limit of 10. But look at on the bottom figure, the emissions are lowest for high speeds in a city, from 70 to 90 kilometers per hour. I'm talking about internal combustion engines. Another trend, from hard and gray city to human and green city. Here you have Times Square, New York City, was full of cars and traffic. Every time I was going there, I was wondering, is this the main square of the main city of the world? And it didn't look very nice. Now they change it into a place for people, from pedestrians, and also to stay there to enjoy the space. Some examples from Barcelona, my city. We had this, on the lower left, we had this elevated viaduct in Gloria's Square. We knocked it down, and now we have something underground. so we can have a park in pretty central space of the city. We had this other viaduct in Ronda Guinardó, elevated very close to the flats, to the apartments. We knocked it down too some years ago, and now we have a regular street with 6 lanes, but not a small street, but not something with a lot of infrastructure and very close to the neighbors. This lady, Kimberly Nicholas, she proposed several strategies, 12, to decrease the number of cars in the city, and she ranked them according to effectiveness, with the traffic light colors, green, the highest effectiveness, congestion charge, parking and traffic control, and limited traffic zone, and then medium strategies and low strategies. We can also use the macroscopic fundamental diagram that was discovered and developed by Carlos Daganzo, professor of UC Berkeley, my PhD thesis advisor, by the way. And we can regulate the number of vehicles accumulated in a quarter of the city or the whole city, if it's a medium or small city, with this diagram. How? With they call it gating with traffic lights. Gating. It's like a faucet, opening the faucet and closing the faucet, counting the numbers of cars that entered in this part of town. Recovering the space taken by cars. Again, these two pictures that I like, that I told you, again, I put it here, and even with a song that I like also very much, by this group, Spanish group, Héroes del Silencio, Heroes of the Silence, was very popular in Germany too, some decades ago. We must begin slowly to undo the world. And the song is called Undoing the World. Less space and more expensive for cars in the city, and returning the city to the people. Here we have several cases of transformations. They are dual pictures of the same place, the same building. On top, what we had before, and on the bottom, what we have right now. Everything is better, the current situation. Here, these guys, they created a canal. You see the same monument. This was very hard, a lot of concrete, and now has green grass. Everything is better. So if we can do it, not in a blind way, but in a way that traffic doesn't explode, so little by little, with care, the new situations that recover the space for the people are much better. Parklets, the same, but in a very, very cheap way. Instead of using some parking spots, on-street parking spots, and we take this space and we use it for something else that is not parking a machine that is occupying public space. This is in LA. They are very popular in LA, in the US, LA, San Francisco, bottom right, New York. Here you see some people just sitting and talking or having a drink or playing a chess game. This is Seattle. This is in Spain, in a place 1 hour north of Barcelona, Platja d'Aro. It's a beach town, and then they increased all this. I remember some years ago was full of cars. So now, yeah, they do have some cars, but very few. Maybe there is a pharmacy here that we need 1 or 2 spots for cars, but the rest is used for restaurants and for people to enjoy the space. Tactical city planning, and I put many colors because I don't know why they paint the things with many colors, like giving a new, the city is like a canvas, no? Okay, I say that everybody, all the large cities took advantage of the coronavirus pandemics to take space. How can you take space really fast and cheap? Painting. So everybody did this. These pictures are from Barcelona. I have to tell you some things that are negative because we had some accidents. They put, of course, if you paint only without physical segregation, you may have some accidents. In order to avoid some accidents, they put some physical segregations, and then we had some accidents with motorcycles and personal mobility devices, etc. The other two pictures from below are from some other cities, but you see they like to use a lot of colors. I think this is okay, but as a transition, not as a permanent issue. And I don't like that we play trial and error. We have to have a design. We need to think what we want and then to build it in a way. But not, I paint, and if it doesn't work, I repaint it. This is not very serious, okay? And I don't like maybe the colors are okay for cities that they don't have any aesthetically value, but, for cities that they do, and they have nice buildings, whatever, I don't like this kind of, but this is a personal view. Complete a street, in the US, they call streets to motorways. For example, this one in US, we will never call this a street in Europe, but they do. They call them streets, of course, and they claim that we should have complete in the sense that pedestrians can use it and bicycles can use it. They call these streets that are not real streets. They call it stroads. It's in between street and road. And they say these are ugly, dangerous, and inefficient stroads found all over the US and Canada. Well, we do have some of these in Europe too. In Barcelona, we had some. For example, in the picture here below left, this is Meridiana Avenue. And this is how it used to be when I was a teenager. So a main roadway for cars, and then the pedestrians had to cross over a bridge, and now many lanes, they reduced the number of lanes and they made something more normal, more street, with traffic lights so that the pedestrians can cross, and then the two sides of this quarter are together, are linked. This is another street, main street of Barcelona, Arago Street. We used to have it's a little bit wider street than the rest. The rest of the streets of the broadening of Barcelona, of Ildefons Cerdà, are 20 meters wide. This one is wider. Why? Because it had a train. So it had a train and then some lanes for cars. The train was put underground. And then what happened? We were in the 1960s, and then this was filled with cars, 8 lanes of cars. The number of lanes have been reduced, the sidewalks have been increased, but they still the neighbors complain that we don't want a urban motorway. Low emission zones. I don't know if you know this link, urban access regulations.eu. We have many regulations. All of them this is updated. Maybe this picture I put is a little bit old. You can search low emission zones. You can search also tolls, urban tolls, as we'll see later. But the dots are the cities where we have low emission zones in Europe. You see in Germany, many, in the Netherlands, Belgium, the north of Italy, France, and very few in Spain, UK, Denmark. Barcelona was pioneer in Spain in 2020, just some months before the pandemics of coronavirus, and the law came one year later, in 2021. Well, the reduction of emissions was not very important, but the figures are little. Now they are much better, but because people changing the fleet to better less cars with less emissions. We have a big problem of with the current threshold of the European Union, because it's going to be reduced in a few years to 1/2. And we are almost at the limit, of these 40 micrograms per cubic meter of NOx. And when they reduce this in a few years to 1/2, it's going to be a big problem for us. Superblocks. Superblocks, it's a concept that it looks very recent. It comes from Salvador Rueda, 2011, but it's pretty old. Ildefons Cerdà is this guy that looks like the Count Dracula, but is a civil engineer of the 19th century. He spent all his life to write. He wrote 4 books about quantitative city planning, 4 books, they are in Spanish. And he designed the broadening of Barcelona. At that time, we didn't have cars. We are in 1856. We had trains, but we didn't have cars. He made small blocks, small, 100, 115 meters each, for human scale. The blocks were open so that every two buildings, they have a garden or a park inside. Here you can see how speculation, first the park was the pretty large, or the garden pretty large, then was smaller, then they deleted the garden, they closed the block, then they grew two more stories high. Well, anyway, so this is what we got. The idea was very, very good 150 years ago. Now what we got is not so good. A lot of density. The only positive things is the density, but we lost all the green space. Here came Le Corbusier. In 1933, he made a plan for Barcelona. It was never approved. Why? Because in 3 years later, we had the Civil War in 1936. It was never approved, but he proposed interways. He was not calling super blocks to this concept, but interways of 3 by 3, so that we have 400 meters. He was saying, he was not cutting the through traffic in the middle, but he was saying, okay, the traffic will use the interways, the main traffic, and the interior streets will be for local traffic. And here comes this guy, Salvador Rueda, recuperates this idea from Le Corbusier, and but this guy is an ecologist, so he says, no, I don't want through traffic in the middle. And he implemented this, the only one super block that we have in Barcelona that is officially 3 by 3 blocks is this one, in one part of Barcelona called Poble Nou, the new village. And of course, if you don't allow any through traffic, the people can use this space and people are happy. This is a weekend. Of course, during the weekend, there is no services, there are no... We can access going in and maybe parking if we live here, but we cannot go through. So we can go in and then they pull us out. So there is no through traffic. Because you can imagine that losing 2/3 of the space for traffic suddenly, he wanted to implement this as a big bang, is a little bit scary. And the guys of the city of Barcelona didn't allow him to implement this suddenly. Well, this was turned some years ago into something that they still use a super block name because it became famous, but now they are not super blocks, they are just green corridors. Green corridors, of course, with one service lane, but going at very slow at 10 or 20 kilometers per hour for services or for local residents. When the two green corridors, they intersect, we can have a nice square for people to enjoy and to meet. Okay. Here I put an anecdote, 2 anecdotes, Eva. One is that I live in the first super block, which is the Gothic quarter. The whole Gothic quarter is a super block. I live there since 1973. So, but we don't call it superblock. It's the Gothic Quarter. And then there was when they decided not to pursue these 3x3 superblocks. There was a German city planner, was not Eva, was saying, "Oh, it's a pity. What a loss for Barcelona, because there is no presentation in Germany on the mobility transition without the topic of superblocks being mentioned. What a pity, what a loss." No? And then I answered him, there is only one superblock in Barcelona, as proposed by Salvador Rueda. The rest are traffic restricted streets, whatever, no? So, and I don't like this super or micro or prefix to words, no? It looks like you don't have a clear idea of the concept. But we have several other places that are not 3x3, several other places with this kind of traffic restricted streets only for neighbors or services in Barcelona. Cyclable cities. This is also a good idea to pull a transformation in the city. For example, I think it's essential that every city implements a public bicycle sharing system, because we owe that to this transportation mode. We owe this to the citizens. And it's like the father that was a little bit tough with the son, and then after some years they forgive each other. They come back, and then now the father, "Oh, you are right. I made a mistake in your education, whatever, and now I'm gonna try to recuperate this lost time." No? So I'm gonna invest in this public bicycle sharing system. I'm going to put stations, and especially I'm going to make kilometers and kilometers of infrastructure protected for the bicycles to develop in a city. These are the bicycle lanes of Barcelona and the stations of this bicycle sharing system in Barcelona. This is an idea about ETH in Zurich. They propose to spend half of the space for electrical bicycles or micro mobility, which is personal mobility devices. Another concept that for us is very common, but in the US and Canada, it's a kind of a religion. You believe it on it or not. Due to this guy, Donald Shoup, they even appears in cartoons. He wrote a book, a famous book, The High Cost of Free Parking. And there are groups. I belong to this group, the Shoupistas. It's like a religious group. That you believe in this or not. I do believe in this. In Barcelona, we implemented pricing for and regulating the parking space on street since 1980. They implemented this in Madrid a couple of decades ago. They were not used to this. People protested really badly with nasty insults and people showing themselves naked and against the mayor. This was the mayor of Madrid at that time. And another anecdote is that Share Now, a former Car2Go, came to Madrid, but not to Barcelona. This is Madrid, Las Cibeles, the statue. Not to Barcelona. Why? Because Barcelona was asking them to pay for parking while the cars were parked on the street. And then they said that that would create more expenses, and then they didn't want to change the rates of the rental, and so we don't have this in Barcelona. Urban toll, as I said, urban access regulations. This web, it gives us the places, the cities that they implemented a kind of a urban toll. The pioneers ones were the Norwegian cities, but they were small cities until they reached the capital, Oslo. But I remember Trondheim, Bergen, and then London came in 2003, and then that was a major city, and then many others, Milan, Milano, and some others. Not too many, and here you have a list. We tried to implement this in Barcelona. We studied this with a PhD thesis by this guy, Miller Salas, a Colombian guy, and we defined it, that €1.50 at that time plus 9 cents per kilometer would be fine. Just for you to know that we have two extremes of in Latin American countries, they implemented restrictions with almost no technology and no money, no pricing. In Europe, we implemented pricing with technology. The optimal, it's in between. It's not one extreme or the other. And we worked a little bit with the city of Munich to, they have low emission zones and to implement also urban toll. Telework, well, we all know what this has been fostered during the pandemics, but before the pandemics, before 2020, the percentage was very low, very low. These guys are telecommunication engineers. They this is called the Benjamin Report. In the year 2000, they were forecasting 10 million teleworks in Europe by the year 2000. I don't think we have them right now in the year 2025, because transportation and going to work and to work together it doesn't work like bits and microchips. Here you see how if we put a toll, the orange curve is the traffic changing according to the time of the day. When we put a toll, people try to skip, especially the evening, the afternoon toll. They skip it all. Usually we don't have a deadline. There is no rush to come back home. In the morning, most of the people try to skip it, and then some people, they don't care. Maybe they don't pay for it, or they are late to a meeting, to an appointment, and then they pay the toll. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit faster because I want to have some minutes for questions. Demand responsive transit. This is an old idea also. It's from the 70s, after the oil crisis of 1973-74. If you guys are students, you are too young, but you can ask your parents, and probably they'll know about this crisis we had in 1973-74. Very little success with large buses and without technology. But now we have technology, so we have a critical mass of demand, very large. But they made some mistakes implementing it with buses, with large vehicles. We need small vehicles, taxi cabs, shared taxi cabs, and of course, this is not meant for the central part of a city. This is meant for very low demand densities in passengers per square kilometer an hour, usually at night or in the outskirts of a large city or in a medium or small city. Gender perspective, another. This is also very recent, even though some cities, they do have some vehicles reserved for women and children for different purposes, usually security, but in some countries they just feel uncomfortable that male look at them and just looking, or reserved parking spots for this perception of security that is much different. They are implementing this in the planning in Barcelona. They commissioned a group of women, and they came out with some criteria. And of course, there are many things that need to be improved regarding security. Women have greater awareness about safety, and they take fewer risks. Usually, they have more children and strollers, so the universal accessibility is very important, and they do more errands and tasks. And of course, there are many other general improvements, like putting light to any bus stop needs a light, and maybe in order to save some money, it doesn't need light. No, yeah, it does, because then at night it's not convenient and nobody feels safe. Traffic evaporation is the contrary of induction, is de-induction, which is okay, and this may happen. You have a paper that studies this in Barcelona. You have in the complementary readings. In these super blocks, in the interior streets, the traffic was reduced 14%, but in the exterior streets, it was increased 2%. We may say, okay, 14 is better. Yeah, but the annual average daily traffic is very different, maybe very different. No, the total amount may be very different. Here I always put, we may have an evaporation, but it's a small percentage, 10, 15%, not 50%. Okay, and I put as an example this Ronda of Litoral beltway we have in Barcelona that is always congested because they made only 2 lanes per direction and it has a lot of trucks. This guy is also thinks about the future of the cities, and it has 4 ideas: the digital city, the high-tech city, the fortress city, and the livable city, and it's the nice one, John Urry, with high-density neighborhoods, collective services, biodiversity, community green, mainly pedestrian, slow-moving vehicles, systematic downtime. So it's more than mobility, is a philosophy. Cost-benefit analysis of the convivial city, we have to be careful with road safety. Everything is positive except for road safety in the short run. We have to be careful with this. Air quality, also, we are paying attention to this forced by the laws, of course. Otherwise, something that people don't perceive this, but they have pretty negative, as we will see, effects in health. I live here. I live here in the circle, the white circle. I say that I never invite you to come home because it's like trying to kill you. But look at this. This is one part of Barcelona, and these are the emissions. This street is Rome Avenue, and they made pedestrian one part. Look how it changes. The emissions change a lot, so they are very related to traffic. In Madrid, they have in general, better average of quality of the air, but they have 2 or 3 times a year of very high levels of bad air quality, and they had to implement some serious measures like the license plate, even and uneven, things like this. Another issue is going to be noise. Now we don't talk about this very much, but look at this. These guys said the world's noisiest cities, and Barcelona is here. It's number 7, and it's never nice to be. We like to be in the list of the 10 best, not the 10 worst. So we'll have to take care of this. Urban health, as I told you, air pollution reduces the lifespan by 9 months. They calculated this, which is less than 1%. According to our life expectancy in Spain, which is the 2nd largest in the world after Japan. They have this 300 rule. 3 trees from your home, have 30% of green space in your neighborhood, and live within 300 meters of a park or large garden. We don't comply with this. And then they promote active mobility, and here I put my brochure for the World Health Organization. Urban traffic safety, another thing that we have to improve a lot. In general, people, the speeds are not too high, but we have accidents, we have dead people, fatalities, distractions, especially people with the mobile with a cell phone, drugs, and drinking is a drug. There's something that is pre-internalized in Spain. They think that no, drinking is a little bit. No, it's a drug. And there are more heavier drugs, of course, or just I'm tired. I didn't sleep well tonight, and I don't. Or I'm doing some things like 2 people on a kick scooter, which is forbidden. What I don't like is that because of safety and because of legal issues, they are duplicating the horizontal and vertical signals of traffic. I don't like this very much. Okay, let's go fast, finishing. The digital era is a game changer. We know times are changing. Here we have, this is El Prado Museum, and then all the young people are, they don't care about this painting by Velázquez, but they do care about the mobile phone. Ubernomics is they put the nice umbrella and cool umbrella of technology, but underneath the umbrella is the typical capitalism. And so we need to regulate this. Many people have died for workers' rights and for they need to internalize. I'm sorry, their externalities, etc. These are ghost kitchens, and this guy Travis Kalanick was the boss of the CEO of Uber, and now is the boss of dark kitchens. Micromobility, I don't like the name. I like better personal mobility devices. Whoever put the name micro doesn't know what micro means, but these kind of devices, usually an electric motor, individual, but it's everybody's using this in the cities, and sometimes without helmets, without safety, and they create some problems. Autonomous vehicles, we're having this already, as in some cities, as a test or permanently for passengers and also for freight. Look at this. This is a transition. The transition can be worse. Until now, we have this level of and green. The transition can be worse, and then when we have 90% of vehicles autonomous, then we're going to recuperate the green color. Share mobility also. This was not regulated. This is La Ramblas. It's forbidden to put these bicycles here. Or this is Milan. Milan, I don't like, this color in front of a nice monument. This is Madrid, Puerta de Alcalá. This color is okay, gray. People are getting tired of this, and they are doing nasty things to the vehicles. Mobility as a service. This guy implemented this in Helsinki, and last year he had to close this. So it was a monthly fee, and then we have unlimited public transportation rights, and also public bicycle sharing system rights, and then some rights according to what you pay every month of taxi cabs or rental days for cars or motorcycle rides. E-commerce and mobile depots. I'm finishing. Well, e-commerce, it's very convenient, but they need to bring the things to our place, either home or a delivery box or dropping box. They are doing this. These are pictures. This one I took, and this one is somebody else took. But this is not nice. These mobile depots on the sidewalk with boxes, people sorting boxes. We need to organize this. Unattended night delivery. This guy, Jose Holguín Veras, a professor of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute at Troy, very close to New York. They implemented this in New York, was a success. Of course, we need technology so that they deliver the things at night without anybody being there. You can see the difference between during the day and at night. At night, the speed is faster. You can drop the things at the door in front. Everything is faster, and you don't need people there inside. Well, this was implemented in New York, in Sao Paulo, and Bogota, and these are the improvements in emissions that he got. Pedestrians rule, like Hulk, still rules. The pedestrians rule. We are the only ones that have the right to access the streets. The rest of the people, they need permissions, the rest of the vehicles. But pedestrians are the only ones that have the right to go out in the streets. This is a pedestrian scramble in Tokyo. I'm promoting this in Barcelona, but since many years ago, but they don't pay attention to me. In New York, they just legalized jaywalking, which is crossing the street, not when the pedestrian light is green, but whenever you want. Of course, you take your risk, it's at your own risk. But before this was illegal, you could be fined, give a ticket. And now they just, some months ago, they implemented this, they legalized this. And finally, they are building brand new sustainable cities, but in places that are deserts. This city of Masdar, designed by Norman Foster, very close to Abu Dhabi in United Arab Emirates. You see, very nice air conditioning, green stuff, and people mover in a place that is a desert. I don't know if this is so it's going to have the zero carbon, zero waste, circular economy, but I don't know if it's very sustainable. The line in Saudi Arabia, they're building it for a city, but linear, for 9 million people, 170 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters tall, taller than the Empire State Building, and with a magnetic levitation or hyperloop, whatever, that is going to, from side to side, it's going to take only 20 minutes. They say that it will be done in the year 2039. Of course, all these paradigms, they create paradoxes. Look at this picture. The guy with a beard and ecological mentality cannot afford a Tesla. So the guy is driving an old gasoil car with a lot of emissions. The rich guy can afford an electric vehicle, and he's making fun of this guy, saying, well, I'm not contaminating like you. Well, so money is involved. When we had this coronavirus, people were asked to be in the quarters so that we don't leave home. And then some people said, well, now the city of the 15 minutes, depending on the quarter, it's like a jail, a cage. We are close together. Yeah, we have everything, but not the quality that we want. We don't have an opera house in all the quarters. We don't have a large commercial center. We need to foster public transportation, but we need density to make it feasible financially. When we had this coronavirus, people wanted low occupancy and private vehicles because of this health issue, etc. Metropolitan city versus 15-minute city, low speeds limits for safety, but these low speeds, they are negative for some other things. Conclusions. Yeah, we are in the middle of a mutation, but we need to reclaim the city for people. Technology helps, but we have to focus technology must be geared toward improving the quality of life and also improving the social equity, reducing the social gaps. And finally, city planning today, besides of urban design, needs to deal with urban mobility and also urban economics. That's it, folks. Now, I'll be glad to answer some questions. I'm sorry that I took too long, as usual.